I knew this would happen eventually, so let's just get it over with.
Remember,
You're a wizard.
On second thought, let's not go camera.
One whole week.
Still princesses.
Kytra, as you wish.
We have a new pupil, Sarah Crew. Say how do you do to her.
How do you do? I'm very well, thank you.
Lavinia, Jessie, that will do. You may proceed, Miss Rose. Children?
The problem with me doing favorite movies reviews now, in addition to favorite books reviews, is that my taste in movies has not always been quite as immaculate as my taste in books. See, the thing about the favorite books reviews is that, with one notable exception, I've enjoyed rereading all of the books that I've reviewed so far. They haven't always all made the favorites list again, but I've still enjoyed reading them. The same cannot unfortunately be said for some of the movies on my favorite movies list, because I'm judging clear back to when I was 3 or 4, and there was one movie in particular that I watched over and over and over again when I was this age. Now, in my defense, I think part of this can be attributed to the fact that we didn't have a whole lot of movies in the house at this time. But I know that part of it is attributed to the fact that I was young and didn't know how to distinguish good acting from bad acting, just to name one thing. And so I thought I'd better get this one out of the way. So today I review Shirley Temple's The Little Princess. This is not to be confused with the 1995 Alfonso Cuarón movie, which I've already talked about in previous reviews. No, this is the 1939 movie starring Shirley Temple. In the 30s and early 40s, Shirley Temple was basically a child prodigy. There were tons of movies starring Shirley Temple, some might even say exploiting Shirley Temple, and America fell in love with this cute, curly-topped, dimpled little girl. And one of those movies was based on Frances Hodgson Burnett's book, A Little Princess. Now, you might get the feeling from my little intro that this is a horrible movie, and it's really not a horrible movie. It's not a great movie, but it's not a bad one either. It's certainly not as bad as I remembered it being. So let's first take a look at what's good about this movie to see if we can figure out what made me like it in the first place. Now, as much as I would like to not talk about this movie in comparison to the book and just judge it on its own merit, I kind of have to compare it to the book a little bit, so bear with me for a moment. The most noticeable difference between the book and the movie is that, just like in the Alfonso Cuarón movie, they kept the father alive. And in this particular movie, the thing that keeps Sarah Crew going during her time of drudgery is that steadfast belief that her father is in fact still alive.
Had enough of it. You must realize once and for all that your father is dead.
Don't you say that. He's not dead. He's not. And you can't stop me from looking for him either.
And we also have the addition of a romance between two of the teachers at the school. Because I guess the movie makers felt that the story about Sarah Crew just wasn't interesting enough. And of course it's a Shirley Temple movie, so they have to randomly break out into song and dance numbers regardless of whether it fits into the plot or not. But as I've said in previous reviews, the focus of this story is the character of Sarah Crew. So let's look at this character for a moment. The Shirley Temple character is unbelievably charming. She charms everybody she meets throughout the entire story. It doesn't matter whether she's poor or rich or whatever. She charms everybody she meets within a few minutes of having met them. She even charms Queen Victoria. I mean, that is not an easy feat. And by the way, just a quick aside, one of my favorite parts of the movie is the moment when Shirley Temple realizes exactly who it is she's talking to.
What is your name?
Victoria, what is yours?
Love it. They did get a few things right. Now, the princess angle that we see in the book and the Alfonso Cuarón movie is not really played up as much. The definition of princess in this movie is just Shirley Temple is so adorable that everybody just calls her princess. That's really all there is to it. It's pretty simple.
She's just like a little princess, isn't she? That's what she is, a princess.
Instead of imagining herself to be a princess to get her through, she imagines herself as a soldier so that she can be sufficiently brave to get through these difficulties that she's facing. And I do really like this, both because of the parallel with the war and also because the parallel between the two halves of the story. In the first half of the story, Shirley Temple is using this pretend game to do, you know, pretty basic things like put on her shoes and guard the door where the two teachers are saying goodbye to each other. But in the second half of the movie, just like in the book, she is using this pretend game basically to survive. And the character really does develop very well in this movie. In fact, I would say that pretty much everything about this character is written right in the movie. The problem with this character is not the writing, it's the acting. Shirley Temple was a very, very talented child. She could sing, she could dance, she could mug for the camera and be all kinds of adorable. She couldn't act. And that's the weird thing about Shirley Temple movies in general. They always give Shirley Temple crying scenes. Every character she plays is a huge crier, and I don't understand it because I don't buy it.
My daddy has to go away. But he'll return most any day.
She can do the comedy with the best of them. She can't do the drama. And to be fair, it wasn't just her. None of the acting in this movie was that great. The acting was so hammy and cheesy you could make a sandwich out of it. And maybe over-the-top acting like that was considered normal at the time, but by today's standards, it's not good.
Sarah! Sarah! My baby!
Oh, Daddy, you
Oh, my
do
God.
know me.
Also, one other thing you'll notice about this movie is that there's no score. There's music in the song and dance numbers, there's background music being played in the streets at times, and they play the British National Anthem at the beginning and ending of the movie, but other than that, there's no film score for this movie. And it's really something that you notice, especially in this day and age, where a movie is judged primarily by the quality of its score. And again, I don't know if that was just the practice of the time, but it pretty much means that you're relying on the actors to carry the drama of the movie, which, let's face it, ain't gonna work. So that's The Little Princess. Like I said, not as bad as I remembered it being, and not a bad movie by any means. But at best, it's a mediocre one, and it's really not on the favorites anymore. If you want to watch a movie based on this novel, then watch the Alfonso Cuarón movie from 1995. Or, even better, read the book. And that's all I have to say for today's Favorite Movies review. Until next time, happy viewing.